She stumbled, her wrists chafed raw by the coarse rope binding them. Her hair clung to her face in wet strands, her breath fogged in the frigid air. And her legs bare beneath a ripped cotton dress were trembling from cold and exhaustion. Behind her, the man who had dragged her up the winding mountain trail gave no words of comfort or cruelty, just silence and rope, and a gun slung across his back. The only sounds were the crack of branches under their boots and the distant howling. Wind that moved like a ghost through the trees. At the summit, the cabin appeared suddenly, squatting in the snow like some ancient beast. Smoke curled from the crooked chimney. It looked abandoned but for the faint glow behind the frosted windows. Her heart pounded as the man pounded once on the door. The door creaked open slowly. The man who answered was taller than the one who brought her too. He wore layers of rough plaid and leather, and his beard was wild, streaked with gray. Eyes like flint, cold, unblinking. He looked at the girl first, then at the man holding the rope. "This her?" the mountain man asked. The other nodded. "What?" "Of the town strays orphan. Nothin' but a mouth to feed." As the mountain man looked back at her, she got a name. "She don't talk much," bit Farrell. A long silence passed between the two men. Then the mountain man reached forward, grabbed the rope, and pulled her toward the door with one hand. "She stays," he muttered. "Go on." The rope was cut with a single swipe of his knife. She stumbled again as the man who had brought her turned and left without a backward glance. The mountain man didn't ask her to come in. He just turned his back and disappeared into the dark cabin. After a moment, shivering and half frozen, she followed him in. Inside, it smelled like firewood, metal, animal hide, and something stewing in a cast-iron pot. It was warm. The wood stove roared in the corner, and furs were thrown over crates and handmade furniture. Tools hung from walls. There were no lights except for lanterns in the fire. He sat in a worn chair and eyed her. "We can stand or you can sit, but you'll earn your keep here. I don't feed beggars. You pull your weight or you starve." Still she didn't speak. He tilted his head. "You dumb?" She shook her head. "Just once." "Good. Then hear me clear. I don't hurt what's mine unless it tries to hurt me first. But if you run, you won't get far. The wolves don't care if you're a girl or a rabbit." She didn't cry. She just nodded, slow and tired, like she'd heard that threat before and believed every word of it. Her first night in the cabin was spent curled up by the stove on a pile of furs. He didn't speak to her again. She didn't sleep much. The next morning, she was woken before dawn with a grunt. A bucket was shoved into her hands. "You want to eat? You haul water? Creek's that way." He pointed into the freezing dark. She didn't argue. She went barefoot into the snow, dragging the heavy bucket. Her fingers numbed fast, and the wind slapped her cheeks until they were red and raw. She found the creek, broke through the thin layer of ice, and filled the bucket. The water sloshed and froze around the rim as she walked it back. When she placed it inside, the mountain man didn't speak, just handed her a rag and pointed to the floor. She scrubbed until her knees ached. Then she chopped vegetables for stew. Then she skinned a rabbit. He never told her she was doing things right, but he didn't stop her either. Over the days that followed, she learned to wake before him, to light the fire, to carry water, cut wood, though her small hands blistered under the weight of the axe. She learned to trap, to clean a fish, to mend socks and keep quiet. He never asked her where she came from, and she never offered, but she watched him closely. The mountain man was rough, yes, but not cruel. He didn't speak often, but when he did, it was clear and direct. He cleaned his weapons with care, hunted only what he needed, and always brought back firewood. She began to understand that everything in this life had to be earned, kept warm, by sweat and blood and skill. One night, weeks after she had first arrived, she burned her hand on the stove while pouring stew. She gasped and dropped the ladle, clutching her palm. Before she could move away, the mountain man was at her side. Not angry, not yelling, just moving with quiet, startling speed. He pulled her to the table, poured snow melt over her hand, then rubbed something from a brown jar across her burn. "You gotta respect fire," he said. It'll feed you, warm you, or kill you, depending on how you treat it. His voice wasn't gentle, but it wasn't harsh either. It was the closest thing to kindness she'd felt in years. After that night, he taught her more: how to set a snare, how to skin a squirrel without wasting the hide, how to sharpen a blade with stone and patience. One day, as they were setting traps together in silence, he spoke suddenly. "What did they do to you down there?" "In town." She didn't answer for a long time. Then she said, "They traded girls like food." He didn't ask anything more. From then on, something changed. Didn't treat her like a child or like something broken. He handed her the rifle when they hunted, trusted her to watch his back. They tracked a bear that had been nosing too close to the cabin. He told her where to stand, how to aim, and when to shoot. She hit the target. The bear fled. He nodded once and handed her a piece of jerky from his pocket. Spring began to thaw the snow, and the wind stopped screaming so much at night. Birds returned. The creek swelled. She stood taller now, spoke a little, ate more, slept deeper. One evening, as they sat near the fire, eating boiled roots and rabbit, he spoke without looking at her. "You could leave. Once the past clears, ain't gonna stop you." She didn't answer for a long time. Then she said, "Ain't nothing down. They're but men with ropes." He nodded. He said nothing more. Summer came, and with it, longer days, more game, and fewer memories of the town below. She learned to laugh quietly, and only when no one else was listening. Sometimes she'd catch herself smiling, then bury it quickly. The mountain man noticed, but never commented. She carved a little figure from wood wanza fox with crooked ears. She left it on the windowsill. He saw it the next morning, picked it up, examined it, and left it right where it was. Then one day, men came. Rough, loud, armed. They claimed they were from town, said they were looking for a girl who'd gone missing. "She's mine now," the mountain man said. They laughed. One reached for her. She stepped forward and slammed the back of her axe in two. "His knee!" he screamed. She stood between him and the cabin like a wolf cub, ready to bite. Another raised a rifle. Then a shot cracked from behind her. The mountain man didn't miss. The others fled. Fast. Afterward, he looked at her with something unreadable in his eyes. "You didn't have to do that," he said. She shrugged. "They weren't taking me again." He nodded slowly. "Then you stay. As long as you want." Years later, people in the nearby valleys would speak of the silent woman who roamed the forest with a rifle and a knife, who could skin a deer in minutes and disappear into the trees like mist. They said she'd been born of snow and wood smoke, raised by a ghost of the mountain. But she remembered everything: the rope, the cold, the door, the fire. She had earned her keep hand, found something far more valuable in return: freedom.